Hi guys, it's Paul Wilson here, and thought I'd jump on to the live stream and give you guys an update as to what's going on. Now, originally I put this video or this live stream, I positioned it as that I'm stopping Adobe Captivate 9 tutorials and I'll never do them again. And that's true. That's true, but let me explain why, because it's actually a little bit different than probably what you thought. I kind of knew about this ahead of time, and I'm very excited and pleased to report that Adobe Captivate 2017 edition has been released, and it's now available for download. You can download a 30-day trial at adobe.com/captivate and check it out for yourselves. I thought I would take this opportunity to maybe give you guys a little bit of heads up. I've got a bunch of videos that I've published today that are specifically about Adobe Captivate 2017. So check those out. But, we'll spend a little bit of time this morning explaining why I'm not going to do Captivate 9 videos anymore. And that's because for those that are just joining us, Captivate 2017 got released this morning. And I'll just give you a sneak peek here. A couple things that we can cover off today. And I'm really excited by this release because it really is a big change over what we previously had. I think, for the most part, the interface will be familiar to you. You won't be thrown off guard by a completely different interface. But, there's still a subscription model available. You can still purchase a full license for $1,100 US. Student teacher editions are available. So nothing's changed from that regard. And if you are on the subscription model, you are eligible to download 2017 and continue your subscription with the most up-to-date version. So it's really exciting. You can also get some fantastic news at eLearning.adobe.com. They've updated their site to promote the 2017 release. You should see some articles from myself. There's some older ones there. Let's see here. Let's take a quick peek here and see what's going on. I did get a new notification. Yeah, nothing new for me for here, but I've got a bunch of videos that are available. You'll be able to see those on the eLearning.adobe.com, but you can go straight to my YouTube channel, which, obviously you guys are aware if you're joining my live stream. And you can learn about the new Thor movie. No, just kidding. Let's sign in as me. And go to my channel. And you'll see, of course, that I've got a string of videos. There's actually a whole playlist available dedicated to Adobe Captivate 2017. And, we've got, well, I'll go through some of the features this morning because I definitely want to share it with you guys. In fact, I have Captivate 2017 up and running right here. And, we can talk a little bit about some of the key differences over over Captivate 9. I wanted to call it 2009, but that's not right. So yeah, if you want to check out my Adobe Captivate 2017 playlist, there's already, I've already created, I'd say pretty close to an hour's worth of content in here, maybe a little less. But there are a total of 7 new videos that talk about the enhancements that you're going to receive as part of Captivate 2017. So let's start off with responsive projects. That's something that I think a lot of people have been looking forward to the most in a new release for Adobe Captivate. With Captivate 8, they came out with 3 different breakpoints. And then in Captivate 9, you could have up to 5 different breakpoints to represent all the different types of mobile devices that you might be using on your Adobe Captivate projects. or with your Adobe Captivate projects. Now we have a new way of doing it. You know, there's certainly, there was non-responsive projects. Now there's responsive projects. One of the first things that I noticed when I got a chance to look at the pre-release of Adobe Captivate 2017 was that there was no breakpoints across the top. There is this preview function, which allows you to preview your different responsive projects on different various popular devices. Now, these are arbitrary, and actually, I will be coming out with a video in the near future on how you could change this list, but I'll show you how you can add a custom choice or two. So iPhone 6, iPhone 7 Plus, iPad, Google Pixel, what will your project look there? Galaxy S6. But again, no breakpoints. You're designing with a single view. And of course, you can manually select your viewport, if you will, or your slide size, and preview what your project will look like there. So in theory, I can start off and build a project, and I can give this a title. We'll call this Justin Trudeau. We'll make a little e-learning course on the current Prime Minister of Canada. And I'm just going to resize this so I don't have to worry about text too much. But I'll also be showing you a feature this morning that addresses the text issue as well. And that's been a problem, of course, with, you know, you can certainly design for 3 or 4 or up to 5 different breakpoints in Captivate 8 or 9. And then the problem comes in is all the different points along the scale between those points. So that's been addressed. So let's just put a little next button here. And what are we going to do? We need a position panel open. Position properties. I'm going to make this fixed. We'll go 60 pixels by 100 pixels, and we'll, oh, that's too much. That's 100%. Let's go pixels. There we go. Maybe a bit larger. And I'll just make this my next button. Now that's fine. Let's just do a quick preview of this project. And you can still deal with, of course, the smart positioning. Let's turn that on, and I'm going to actually position this item at the bottom. And that should work fine. Let's just do a little preview of this project, and this should open up. You know, and you'll have the slider bar like you've become accustomed to. And of course, as this gets adjusted, the text obviously gets squashed down a little bit. And you can build that, you know, that you can sort of plan for that by choosing a text box size that's appropriate. But let's take a look at another problem that comes into play. And I'll just grab some text here about Justin Trudeau. Bear with me a moment. Just going to grab some content from the internet here. So if you had a whole lot of text like this here, let's say we put this on the screen here. Whoa, that's too large. Let's make that font size appropriate. So as you can see, this is still a lot of text. Wow, that's almost too much. But here's one of the big improvements with Captivate 2017 is if I was to preview this on a device that didn't allow me to see all of the text, which, you know, I'm kind of faking it here. Of course, that's going to be the case. Let's just see what we get here. And we'll just bring that up to this screen here. And so clearly that's the case. In Captivate 2017, you're going to get this new pop-out icon. So if I'm looking at this on a ridiculously small device like an iPhone or something like that, I can actually use this pop-out feature that will allow me to pop out and read all of this content, whether I'm on a mobile device or a tablet, even on a desktop, quite frankly. If it's not readable because the design has, been such that you've put all of this content into a very compact space, you've got this pop-out text, and that is going to cover, obviously you still want to take good design into account, but keep in mind that you have this opportunity now to provide your users on mobile devices a great way of reading content and in a scrollable window, and all they have to do is tap somewhere on their screen to return to the rest of their e-learning project. So that works out really well. Now there's something new called fluid boxes. Let me create a new slide here and I'll cover that off for you guys as well. I'll just do a standard content slide here. And fluid boxes is a new way to deal with responsive design so that you can place your objects on the screen and have them behave in a much more predictable fashion. And you can use this new icon that's located on the toolbar called Fluid Box. And we're just going to select one of the two choices that's available to you. It's horizontal or vertical. And I'm going to go with vertical in this case here, but suffice it to say you could change this back to horizontal if you wish. And I found this to be quite effective. So I'm going to go with vertical. And what you're basically doing is you're saying, how many placeholders do I want for my responsive content to reside within? And the logic that I kind of look at when I'm looking at these is, okay, well, what am I going to have up top? Maybe a title. And then in the middle, I'm going to have some content. And then down below, I'm going to have some, navigation controls. And maybe I want to leave space for things like closed captioning and so forth. So what we'll do is we'll go with, like, say, 4 responsive fluid boxes. And so you now have these different zones. And the fluid boxes have their own properties panel, as you can see here. And you'll still be able to access your regular properties panel as well, but you're going to want to set things up a little bit first. So what I've been playing with this for a couple of weeks now, just chomping at the bit to share this with you guys, but obviously I couldn't. So I'm going to leave some space up here for my title. This is where my content is going to reside. And like I said, I'm going to leave some space for things like closed captioning down here, but I also want some content space for the navigation controls here. And again, if I wanted to, I could switch it back to horizontal at this point. But now you can make some decisions as to how the content will reside within this. So for text here, I'm going to leave it pretty much the way it is. The default's pretty nice for this. Where my content here, for the content itself, maybe what I'll do is I'll choose symmetrical, which will keep all of the content sort of organized into a symmetrical shape. The rest here I'm pretty happy with. I think in this case here I'll squeeze my navigation controls into a single row. And the bottom, I'm actually going to just leave the bottom blank. So let's start off, and how I start to build this slide out for fluid design is if I go to the top here and I just add a text caption. And what it's going to do by default is that it's going to fill the whole entire space with that particular text caption. So if I'm writing a little article or a piece about Justin Trudeau, our current Prime Minister in Canada, I'm going to call it that and give it a title here. And let's just select that again and bump up that font. That's pretty good. So now I'm going to select this middle content area, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert an image of him that I happen to have stored, and I believe I still have it here. There we go. Now what's happened is it's automatically going to put it in the center of my content area, and it's going to resize it because this image is actually huge, I can tell you from experience here. You know, if I pull this out of or put it into different fluid boxes, or undock or unlock from fluid box. Of course, this image here, if I was to go back here and reset to original size, you can see it's a huge picture. Incidentally, he didn't shave that day when he took that photo, because again, the resolution is such that, you know, you can see a little stubble. But you can place this. I'm going to uncheck the unlock from fluid box, put it back in that content box. So again, it pops it back down to normal size here. So now what I want to do also on this particular content page, again, I want to add some text to go with that. So we'll put in a text caption, and what we'll do is we'll paste in that same content, and I'll go with the, there we go. So here's the content. Again, you can see that problem where I've got way too much text for the space that I've given it here. One of the things about fluid boxes that I like is that you can set up some padding space for your content. So obviously, as you can see here, it's maximizing the space. It's using up all the space. But obviously, we want a little bit of white space in there. So I'm going to put 10 pixels on the horizontal side and 10 pixels on the vertical side, just to give it a little extra space here. You know, clearly, and you can do this with all of your fluid boxes. I'm going to recommend you do that for things like this section here, but I'll show you. I'm going to add some smart shapes and use them as buttons. In fact, I'm going to start off with one and just put it right there. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that it's centered and it filled the height of that particular fluid box, but it maintained that aspect ratio. I actually don't want it to do that. I want it to adjust itself, so I'm going to uncheck maintain aspect ratio. Now it fills up the whole space. Like I said, this is going to be my next button, so we're just going to bump that up in font size a little bit here. Right, so that looks good. I'm going to need a back button as well. Actually, before I do, let me make sure I check off use as button, and the action should be go to next slide. I'm going to check off hand cursor and disable click sound, and that should give me the type of button that I like to have. But I need a back button as well. So let's just duplicate that. So now I have two buttons. Again, it automatically sizes itself accordingly. I'm going to make this one obviously a back button. And of course, you could repeat this process for any additional buttons that you want. Just going to update the action to go to previous slide. So there we go. We've got, you know, and I've got space down here later on for closed captioning. I won't do anything to change my design at that point. But I think we got a pretty good little page here that we could use. Again, you can use the controls across the top to preview what this item will look like on different views. And as you can see, with very little interaction on my part, it's really designed quite well. And of course, it will change the layout. Like in this case here on an iPad, it's going to put the portrait of Justin Trudeau up top and the text below. But on desktop, it's going to stretch it out. It's really simple. I did not make those choices other than to say to put in the settings for my fluid boxes. Let's do a preview of this slide, and we'll see how this works out. Incidentally, the fluid boxes are just for each slide. I still have this page, and there's no fluid boxes in this design as well. So you can kind of mix back and forth between just straight up content and content that takes advantage of the fluid boxes. So let's just do a preview. We'll do next 5 slides just so you can see what this looks like. Again, this is a responsive project, so there it is, you know, and I have my back and next controls. And again, as I resize it, of course, there's not enough room for the text. So now we have the text pop-out controls, the icon that will appear to users. And when they tap that, then they have the text available for them to read. Obviously, it's going to be pretty small even on a mobile device. Here, of course, you get the full text. but as the devices get smaller, of course, they'll be able to scroll, taps, and anywhere you want to return to the content. And then, of course, they can hit next and continue with the rest of their project. So there's Fluid Boxes in a nutshell. I won't cover every possibility around it. So again, just for those that are jumping on the live stream partway through, we're just covering off some of the features of the brand new, newly announced Adobe Captivate 2017, what would have been called Captivate 10, but I guess they decided to break away, much like the other Creative Cloud apps. Adobe decided to to break away from the standard numbering system that we had for a lot of time here. So let's just take a peek here. What else do we got? Oh, and one of the things that I'll show you guys that I'm really impressed with is the way they've updated closed captioning. I had a client about 5 years ago who came to me, and I provided them a prototype of the e-learning that I was designing for them. And they were pleased with everything, but the one thing that they thought was bothersome, the testers for that e-learning project were looking at the course, and the closed captioning went from the extreme left-hand side of the page all the way to the right-hand side of the page, and they were finding that because just the way Captivate 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 worked, it would give you the full width. But they were finding that because now screen sizes were getting so much larger on computers, the concern was that their users were getting eye fatigue having to read the closed captioning. At least the users of closed captioning were anyway. So one of the things that that Adobe has done to address this in Captivate 27 is they've given you the ability to do some really cool stuff with your closed captioning. And let's open up our notes panel, and we'll just see that in action. Slide notes here. You'll see that the slide notes area has changed a little bit. Some of the layout is different. The text-to-speech buttons and the closed captioning buttons have now been replaced with icons. You have independent controls to move your slide notes up and down in the list of slide notes. And of course you have, well, not of course, but now you have the ability to have text formatting on your slide notes as well. And that will become clear for the, once you see this in action. Let me just pause for a moment here, take a look at the live chat. I noticed a couple messages came up here. Hi, Paul. Is this version still slow when editing content such as font size and style? I'm not finding that so far, Daniel. I think a lot of that has to do with your system specs. I'm running a pretty sophisticated computer, though. I got about 16 gigabyte of RAM. I've got an SSD. It is a demanding application. There's no doubt about that. Looks like Christian's up to speed here. Another question regarding quiz reporting. Do you know why the test acts so slow when clicking submit inside an LMS? I haven't found that either, Daniel. I find that if everything is being run well on a learning management system, the test acts so slow when clicking submit inside an LMS. Haven't found that. That hasn't been my experience. I would suggest that you reach out to the folks at Adobe. CaptivateHelp@adobe.com is the email address you want to use. Some of the horrible slow content editing. So Daniel, you might be barking up the wrong tree here. It sounds like you're a little disgruntled when it comes to Adobe Captivate. Again, I recommend that you express your concerns to CaptivateHelp@adobe.com. But I think a lot of it has to do with your system itself. If you've got a modern computer with all the specs and everything up to speed, then Captivate runs really well. I haven't had any problems running it on my own system where I have control and I can provide the application administrator rights and so on. So it works really well for me. Is it only responsive? No, Christian, you can still do standard blank projects. That hasn't been taken away. But honestly, responsive design now with the fluid box and just using a single breakpoint is so good. I honestly don't know why you would even do blank project at this point. I'm so pleased with what they've come out with. It's been really great. I have a subscription. Do you know where I can find the upgrade to 2017? I'm not 100% sure, but if I'm not mistaken, Martin, I think what you can do is download the trial, and I think it will allow you to install and continue with your subscription. And of course, you can maintain your copy of Captivate 9 alongside of it, so that should work out well. Yeah, Damien's provided. Go to the help menu and click on update. You should have the updater opening. Perfect. Thanks, Damien. Still have other options you're used from pre-use. Yeah, so like I would say nothing was taken away. You'll notice, of course, the interface is completely similar. So, you know, Yazin is asking here, is horizontal view removed for phones and iPads? No, it's not, because this is just a new way to do responsive design, Yazin. The responsive design is really, I mean, you have 3 different types of designs now that you can do, in my opinion, with responsive design. You've got the new fluid boxes, which we've just demonstrated here. Again, you can preview it. Again, these aren't breakpoints. But on the other hand, if you wish to go back to breakpoints, like let's say you're working on a project that that you started with Captivate 9, you can go to the project drop-down menu and switch to breakpoint mode, and you'll see the same 5 breakpoints that you're familiar with in Captivate 9. So that's going to still be available to you. So let's get back to the slide notes here, and I'll just talk a little bit about that and show you the improvements here. I really like this. To me, this is fantastic. So let me just record some narration for this slide, and we'll just make something up here. Just go to my record button here, and I'll record. Do I want to calibrate audio? No. Could mess up my live stream audio. So welcome to the Justin Trudeau e-learning course. Click the next button to continue. So there's my narration. It's not great. It's probably too loud too. Don't worry, I'm not going to play it. So we'll just close that there. That's going to give me the closed caption icon. Like I said, this used to be a button that said closed captioning. Now it's an icon, so it's nice and simple, and it keeps the interface nice and clean here. And so let's go to closed captioning here. And I'm not sure where I started speaking here, but let's add some closed captioning here. So we'll say, welcome to the Justin Trudeau e-learning course. And we'll do another one here. Click the next button to, I don't know, what did I say? Continue? Sure, that looks good. And we'll save that. So that's populating down in my notes panel there. You can see that that's all been updated. Here's where things get interesting. So if I wanted to draw attention to Justin Trudeau's name, I can actually make it bold. I can add italics. I can underline it, and I can even change the font color to something really funky like red or something like that. And that's going to affect the notes that you see down here as well when I hit save. But it's also going to affect the closed captioning that you see on your screen. So that's great. Let's also bold the next button, because sometimes people aren't paying attention to what's being said and you want to draw attention. No, it's the next button I want you to press. And we'll underline it too for fun. But here's where things get really cool and interesting. If I go into this little icon here, the closed captioning settings. Okay, this is cool. So now I have a preview of my slide here, and I can do a bunch of things. I can, of course, let's reset this project first of all. That's a good button to know if you've messed it all up. Let's change our font. Let's do Arial, because Arial's a nice, easy to read screen font. You can see here that the closed captioning is small and centered, and it takes on those text formatting items, which is fantastic. I'm really pleased about that. And of course, I can choose different locations on the screen to place it. I can put it top center. I can put it top right. I can put it back where I started, middle bottom, middle center, or is it bottom center? That's where but here's the coolest part. I can just grab it off that screen and place it wherever I want on my slide. So if I wanted to take up, let's say about 80% of the screen, I can do that. And then I can use the manual controls down here and change those numbers. Like I can make it take up 80% of the screen. I can align it to the left or keep it center aligned, which is sort of traditional with closed captioning. We can change um, oops, let's change this to, let's move that back there and make that 80%. Yeah, Damien, I was telling a story just before I think you joined, or around the time you joined, about 5 years ago. I had a client looking for this. I'd built this really widescreen e-learning course, and their first complaint was the closed captioning was just taking way too long. They literally had to tilt their heads to read it because it was so wide. This way you can have much more control. Let's make this background color dark. I'm going to get rid of the transparency, and we'll change the text color to white. Notice though that, let me bump up the font on this so you can really clearly see it on your screens here. Notice that anything I customized with the text formatting tools remains customized, and then it defaults to the font colors that the tool has if those items haven't been customized. So this is a really, really neat new design for closed captioning. Something so simple, right? And it's one of those things that we've wanted, for years, and it's so great to finally have it. It's such a simple thing, but such a welcome thing. So let's close that. Let's close that. So that's definitely a welcome addition for Captivate. I know that for me, it's huge. Absolutely a big benefit. So just to summarize what we've covered off so far: fluid boxes. We've got the enhancements to closed captioning, and what else we got? What else we got? Any other things we want to talk about here? Let's just go back. I'm just going to open up another window here. Fluid boxes, closed captioning. Here's one that's really I'm pleased about. Let me insert a quiz question, if I can. Now, one of the things that, for those that were around when Captivate 9 was launched, I was so excited with multi-state buttons. I thought, it's so fantastic to have multi-state, rollover effects and downstates. We had those before with image buttons, but with the transparent buttons, it wasn't really available, and they certainly weren't available in the old text buttons. So I was very pleased. But there were a couple of circumstances where these items just were not available. One of those places was quiz questions. So you'll be happy to know that this has now been updated. So if you go to your properties panel, select your submit button or your quiz review buttons or whatever it might be, you'll notice that there's now a state view option available to you. So I can make totally cool submit buttons with all kinds of weird colors and differences and change the fonts and stuff like that. And the fantastic news is that even though we had those in Captivate 9 under the, what's it called, the Object Style Manager, they never worked. They weren't available to you once you published your project. So if we just do a preview, we'll just do next 5 slides. You'll be very excited to see that, of course, here we go. Submit. Rollover effects. Yay! Captivate 2017. Rollover effects. That's so cool. That to me is very welcome indeed, because I love, courses that are interactive and stuff. Guess what? Also on your quiz results slide, same thing. So again, you have control over the multi-state objects. You can select that from the object state drop down in your properties panel, or of course you can get into state view and again customize these. You can save, of course, your default quiz button style and update that and apply that to, of course, your whole project, and then have your own truly custom rollover effects on all of your cool different rollover buttons and stuff like that. So that's really cool. Another place where this is kind of really cool for me is one of the things that I like to do with some of my courses is put certain objects on the master slide and have them do things for me there as well. But the problem is that when you moved a let's say a smart shape button used as a button, a smart shape used as a button to your master slide, you can totally use it as a button that could, let's say, activate a table of contents or something like that. Let's go to my master slide and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So on my master slide, maybe I put a special button. Let's just make a special button here. And this is on the master slide here. And we'll call this TOC for table of contents. And I'll just resize that a little bit. And we'll put that in the upper right-hand corner here. I'm going to use my anchor points to make sure it stays there. So this is fine. What's cool about this, let me first off check off uses button. Now you don't get the states button that you get on regular slides, but you do have access to the object state. So if I do a rollover effect, I can do something like change it to like a blue color, and then my down state could be red and all that. And you think, okay, well, that's fine. You do that, but does it actually work? So now this is on my master slide here. Let's just do a preview of this project right here. There it is. The rollover effect totally works. Audio, so good news there. You can have rollover effects. So I imagine you could build like a really cool master slide that has all your table of content elements, and it does all the navigation for your course and still gives you your rollover effects. So multi-state objects, fantastic there. Here's an interesting one. Let's see if I've got this. Let me just go to my desktop for a second here. This one, I think I've got a demo file for this. Let me just see here. Okay, so here's an example of the classic table of contents slide, right? So I've got my first slide here, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and it navigates to these slides here. Let me just resize these here. We'll just make them small so that we can see the full thing. So I've got 3 slides. One's called Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. Each one has a Return to Menu button, which just simply navigates to the first slide. And on here, I've got a link or a button that will take you to one of these 3 slides. Now, in the past, if I wanted to have something change the multi-state object buttons that I have here to indicate that I've already visited these slides, I'd have to write some advanced actions. And this is a neat addition here, where what you can do is you can actually have a new state type for buttons. So let's take a look at state view. I'm just going to pick chapter 1 as an example here. What I've got is I've got chapter 1, I've got the normal state, got my rollover state, that's cool, got my down state, these are the defaults. But if I click on new state and I choose inbuilt state, I get a new option here, visited. think about that for a second. Let's add a visited state to this button here. And maybe what we'll do is we'll make it like a light blue, almost grayed out, and we'll change the color of the text to black, just to indicate that we've already visited that. Again, in the past, you'd have to write some advanced actions to make this work, but this is so cool. So now let me just, let me adjust this again for the second button here. We'll add the visited state to that, and we'll change the colors again, and change the font color to black, exit state, and the last one here, state view, we'll add the visited state. This is almost a secret feature because I didn't see it in the release notes or anything like that. This is something that I just discovered playing around with the software over the last couple weeks. So let's just change this one to match the other two. And there we go. So let's just do a preview of this and see this in action here. So, oh, I'm in a multi-state view. Okay, preview project. So what we're going to see now is the visited effect. Again, no coding required for this at all. No advanced actions, no conditional actions, nothing. So I have 3 buttons. Chapter 1. Oh, you know what I forgot? I did forget one thing. You might need to check off retain state on slide revisit. I'm glad I thought of that now instead of having the embarrassing moment of realizing that my project didn't work. So let's actually do an HTML5 preview. Yes, that's the reason I stopped the previous one there. So here we go. I'm just going to bump this up a bit there. So chapter 1, let's click on that. Okay, we read our stuff on chapter 1. Return to menu. Visited state is now hot, and I can still have my rollover effects. Let's go to chapter 3. Okay, read all chapter 3, return to the main menu. Chapter 2, perfect. So I've visited all of these chapters and it updates itself automatically. So again, huge opportunity to improve the user interface of your e-learning designs. I'm really excited by that. So I think you guys will be able to take advantage of stuff like that. Let me take a moment here. We've been on this live stream for about 40 minutes. Looks like Damien's doing tech support for me, which is great. Blah, 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 blah. So that looks all good here. So the advantage of having that visited state, I think, just really enhances the ability to make your courses look a lot easier, and you don't need the advanced action skills to write code to change the state of various objects once they've been clicked. You won't have to create variables to keep track of this stuff. So I think we're in good shape here. Let's take a look at what else is. Oh, here's a fantastic one. Let me just close all this other junk that I've accumulated here, and we'll just do a new blank project. And let's say, for example, we'll use the example of the Justin Trudeau slide. So we'll give this blank project a title, Justin Trudeau. We'll add, I'll just use a normal button for this one here. Nothing outrageously advanced. Let's give it a new caption. Goes to next slide. Let's insert a new content slide. And here what we'll do is we'll put a text caption. We'll put this near the top. Just making, just something very simple here. And we'll call this Justin Trudeau. And bump this up a bit so it's a larger font size. And we'll add one more text caption here. And I will put, I think that stuff might still be, yeah, that still was in my clipboard. I'll just resize this here. don't worry too much about the fact that the text doesn't fit on the screen. Under normal circumstances, I would probably spend a little more time finessing this here. So there's our content. And actually, let's even go so far as to add that image as well. So I'm going to import that image of Justin. And that's too large, of course. So we'll just hit Shift and use the selection handles to adjust the size here. There we go. So we've got, this is a standard blank project, nothing outrageous here, nothing fancy. But one of the greatest features, I think, and this is a very simple example, of course, probably is going to require a little bit more finessing and tweaking on your part. But if you've ever tried to take your old classic legacy projects from, Captivate 6 or Captivate 7 and convert those into responsive projects, I'm sure you're aware of what a nightmare that can actually be. And so what we've got here is now the ability to, new option in the file menu, save as responsive, right? Very cool. What's going to happen is when I click this, it's going to save this project, it's going to close it, and it's going to reopen it. And when it reopens, I have no idea whether this is going to work or not, but hopefully it comes in. It'll come in as a responsive project. Like I said, there might be some tweaking you have to do, but let's take a look. It is going to give me the warning, obviously if there are items that are not compatible with HTML5 or responsive projects, you can click on the Show Unsupported Items, and that will open up the HTML5 tracker, which would, show you, oh no, you can't use that because it's Flash based, or you can't use the old style Flash animations and stuff like that. Assuming you don't have any of those, you can proceed, and I'll hit Save. We'll call this Trudeau. Oop, can't spell Trudeau. So now I'm going to spell it wrong for a week. We'll call it Trudeau. Saves it, closes it, opens it. Guess what? It's a responsive design course now. Now, like I said, there might be some things that you have to adjust. It's going to come in with the responsive design just being kind of basic. So you're going to have to tweak a few things. One of the ways that you can do that is you can use the Suggest Fluid Boxes button down here. And then it's going to automatically create some fluid boxes for you based on the content that it sees on screen. And it works pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. It does all the adjustments that you need. So if you can imagine, your boss coming to you and saying, Gary, Daniel, Yazin, we want you to take this old course from 5 or 6 years ago. And of course, everyone's using tablets and smartphones nowadays. So we want to update it to responsive design. Good news, fantastic. You can get that done, and it's not going to take you thousands of hours. It's going to take you hours. So like I said, you'll probably have to tweak a few things and make some decisions and maybe change the size of certain fonts and the spacing and things like that. But in the end, this is going to save you. If this is a process you have to deal with or anticipate at some point having to deal with, this is going to save you hundreds of hours. So really, really cool thing here. So let's get into another feature that I think is really an important update to Adobe Captivate, and that's the integration of Typekit into Captivate. Now, in the past, we would always choose fonts based on mostly the concept that that we would choose the types of fonts that were web-safe fonts, like Arial, Courier New, Georgia, Times New Roman, Trebuchet MS, Verdana. These would be the fonts you would typically choose for a responsive project, mostly because, of course, they have there's an analog or an equivalent on every system somewhere else. So this is huge. I think this is going to be a complete game changer for a lot of us. Now what's going to be happening, you'll notice now you have this Typekit icon here. And I've already gone ahead and synced up my copy of Captivate 2017 with my Typekit account, which I get through my Creative Cloud account. And even if you don't want to spend any money, there's a whole bunch of free fonts available for you that reside in the cloud. So when you publish your project, you'll be able to access those. I'll give you a really neat example here. So here's kind of a funky one that I found. And up at the top, you'll find that you'll have a new section for Typekit fonts. And this is called ACR or ACR. And it's just kind of a neat sort of Art Deco kind of thing. And what's cool about this is that in the old world of e-learning, you could never pull off a font like this unless you converted it to some kind of graphic image, or if you chose to publish it as a standard blank project, because then of course it would get converted to an image anyway. But in responsive, you could never get away with this, because how would you package that font? You'd have to convert it into an image. Now, of course, you have the opportunity to use the actual Typekit fonts that are available to you. And where the biggest change lies, I mean, you just go into your Typekit account, and that will open up your browser window and allow you to synchronize the fonts of your choice to your Typekit account. I have a Typekit account associated with my Creative Cloud account. And, there it is. There's that ACR BAT font from the BAT Foundry. Nice font. I like it. Probably not going to use it for everything, but, it's kind of an interesting font as opposed to Arial and Times New Roman and stuff like that. Here's how you deal with it. So with Typekit, of course, for those that are familiar with Typekit, you have to package in this case, your e-learning course to reference to where that font is located in the cloud. So I'm going to publish this for devices. Now it's going to give me this little warning saying, by the way, remember, you've got a Typekit font here and you're going to have to do certain things. And then we'll click next. And everything else is the same. Your HTML publish project title, your location, where you publish to, are you zipping the file up, things like mobile gestures, e-learning output, all of that stuff. The one thing that you need to add is you need to add the domains where that e-learning course is going to reside. So if you were publishing it, like, for example, one of the prototype locations I use for my courses is my Amazon AWS account. So I would put in here, I put star.amazon, I think it's just aws.com. And that should cover all the subdomains as well. So if I do this, I should be okay with just this. You may have to try a few different domains if you've got, and so if you're publishing it for, let's say, 2 or 3 domains, you would put all of those in here. Space them out, I believe, with commas. And you can also put localhost for testing purposes. And you can also use an actual IP address, so 127.0.0.1 or whatever it might be. And then you'll be able to publish at that point. And once you upload that project to wherever it is that it's going to reside, bingo, it totally works. I have a video of this on my YouTube channel where I literally hold up my tablet to the screen. I won't fully publish this now. But you can see clearly in that video that I tested this out and this works like a charm, and it's not complicated to do at all. And man, is it welcome to have the ability to use custom fonts. It's a huge, huge feature for me. If you're recording video demos and publishing them to YouTube, this doesn't matter. But if you're designing e-learning that's going to get put out there and you want to have that custom look and feel, you want to have unique branding images that have fonts associated with them. And in many cases, website branding is being done with Typekit anyway. So if you can leverage those same Typekit files, then you can have your e-learning have that perfect look and feel for your brand. So that works out really, really well. Last, I want to talk a little bit about advanced actions. We're almost out of time here. I was going to run this till about 10 o'clock. But of course, I'll make this video available for everyone to see later on as well. So with advanced actions, there's two major changes, and I'm going to try to quickly cover these off in 5 minutes or less, but it shouldn't be too difficult. So if I had, for example, on this particular slide, I wanted to have an on enter action, for example. One of the best, like a best practice, and when I say that, I mean like best practice, like, you know, hey, we've been doing this so long, I've developed this as a best practice, is to develop advanced actions that are conditional even when they don't need to be, right? Because let's say, for example, you know, turn closed captioning on could be an advanced action that I would create. And I might assign, right? This is an on page enter, or on slide enter advanced action. Assign CP command CC with a literal value of 1, for example. And maybe I do a few other things too, like maybe I assign, let's say, command show play bar with a literal value of 0. So I want the closed captioning to turn on, but I don't want the play bar to appear. So I run this advanced action. Most e-learning designers, what they've done, or e-learning designers with Adobe Captivate have done, and a lot of times in the past, is to use conditional actions. And the reason you would use conditional actions is, let's say I end up with 4, 5, 10 different actions, and I reference this advanced action on 100 different slides throughout my e-learning project, or maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration. But if I decide at some point that I need that action to become a conditional action for some reason, it's impossible to just simply update it using Adobe Captivate 9 or 8 or 7 or 6 or whatever. It's impossible to update that advanced action to become a conditional action if you need to make it a conditional action. So what a lot of expert users have done in the past is that they would always start with a conditional action and simply say, if 1 equals 1, then do the following, right? And then if you need to turn it into a true conditional action, you just update your condition. Well, Captivate 27 has fixed that problem, or addressed that issue, by adding this little checkbox right here. So now I have this capability here. So I've put this, let's say, on 100 slides. Sure, it's only one advanced action, but if I need to recreate all this material, I have to go to all 100 slides and point to a new conditional action. Not anymore. I can just check off conditional action. It moves all my previous actions down into the actions section. I could also add some else statements if I wanted to. And then I just need to fill out what my condition is. So if variable equals 1, for example, or something like that. Again, I've got a video on this as well, but this is a huge plus. Another thing that's happening with conditional actions is there's a new type of conditional action. So with an if action else type combination, you're checking for the condition of something one time, which is fine. In most cases, that's all you need. But in some cases, you might want to check for a condition over and over and over again, right? For anyone who's a computer programmer from their past will know this as a loop. You can choose, instead of if, you can choose while. So now it becomes while, say, a variable, you know, or sorry, that's a bad example here. So let's just make a variable. Secret variable, whatever you want to call it. We'll give it an initial value of 1. Close. So maybe your variable just counts down or counts up from 1 to 10, let's say. So while the variable, what did I call that again? Secret variable? It's a terrible name for a variable, by the way. Oh, you know what? I didn't save it properly. Sorry. I always make that mistake. let's just call this variable 1. We'll give it an initial value of 0. We'll save that, close. So now let's delete this and start over again. So while the variable called variable 1 is not equal to a literal value of 10, right? So all the time while it's lower than that number, we're going to do a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to delete these actions here. We'll assign variable 1. Actually, that's bad. We're going to, what are we going to do here? We're going to use an expression, I think is a better way to go. Expression, variable 1 equals variable 1 plus the literal value of 1. Right? So now what we're starting with is 0, then it's going to go 1, then it's going to go 2, then it's going to go 3, 4, and so on. And so it will continue to run this loop until variable 1 becomes 10. When it becomes 10, it will exit from the loop and continue with the rest of your project. So you could do something like this, where, oh, I didn't save it properly. You could display that variable and create essentially a counter. And it would display on screen counting down until such time that it was 10, and then of course it would stop at that point. So there's a very bad rough example of a while variable, but it's a while loop, and that can be done. So let your juices flowing. I'd love for people to write in the comments some ideas as to what they think, what they think could be a good use of the while condition. And also, of course, take advantage of the ability to turn on and off your conditional actions as you need them. And that's pretty much it. So, guys, if you like the stuff that I'm doing, if you like the videos that I'm producing for you, you can say thank you by using the super chat at the bottom of the screen. There looks like a little $sign. It's a way you can show appreciation to what for what I do with the with this Adobe Captivate YouTube channel that's gotten crazy large and out of control. But it's like I said, you can just click on the super chat, send me $10, $5, $20, whatever you think my time has been worth. If you found my stuff useful, if you don't have to do a thing at all, of course. And of course, there's now over 225 videos available for you to watch on my YouTube channel. Almost all of them are about Adobe Captivate. And we've got about 7 videos to get you started with Adobe Captivate 2017. Don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter at Paul Wilson LD, as in Learning and Design. And of course, there's my website at paulwilsonlearning.com. I write many articles and comments there. There's also some sample project files you can download. What I've done in my videos, where I started getting people maybe a year or so ago saying, "Oh, can you send me the project file for that particular video?" So what I started to do is I put them up on the website. So many of the project files associated with a lot of my popular videos are there. I do charge a nominal fee of about $5 for each one, just to help cover my website costs, of course. And oh yeah, and Jack even reminded me, don't forget, if you haven't signed up, if you haven't registered, but are going to be in the Washington, D.C. area next week, literally Wednesday, April 19th, there's a conference at the Renaissance Center downtown. Registration is absolutely free. In fact, breakfast and lunch are included. You don't even have to be someone special like Damien over here, or is it over here? Yeah, I guess it's over here. You see Damien? He's going to be speaking as well. He'll be there as well. Damien's going to be talking about some really cool stuff. Brian Duck will also be there, actually. I know that name. Hey, someone else. You'll get an opportunity to speak with myself and other experts on Adobe Captivate, and sometimes we'll even have the right answer. So look forward to seeing you guys all there, and thanks a lot for joining this morning. Again, just to reiterate, no more Captivate 9 tutorials. I'm not going to make a single one anymore. Everything's going to be Captivate 2000. I almost said Captivate 10. So everything's going to be Captivate 2017 now. So yes, and Damien's going to be talking about producing video content with the Adobe e-learning tools. Are you going to be talking about Presenter Video Express, Damien? I hope so, because that's been my go-to product for making my YouTube tutorials right now. And I don't even use it for its full potential, but I'd really, I don't know, are we on at the same time or at different times? Yep, he is. I love that product. If you find that Captivate might be a little much for you, check out go to Damien's session and check out Captivate Adobe Presenter Video Express. It's my go-to product for all my video tutorials, and you can even use it for building SCORM compliant stuff. It's really fantastic. I see that you made a new banner for the CP27 tutorials. That's a big help. Awesome. Okay, guys, got to sign off, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.